Situation reaction test is part of the psychological tests which are conducted on the second day of your SSB. This test entails a series of 60 situations which are difficult, unfamiliar, and stressful that are presented to you, and you're required to give your immediate or impromptu response to how would you react to that particular situation. Now, if you divide the overall time, tentatively you get around 30 seconds per SRT to solve it or give your response. Now, in this video, let us understand what are the cardinals that you should keep in your mind while you attempt your SRTs. Now, the first and the foremost thing is that make sure that you attempt the SRTs in a sequential manner without leaving out any SRTs in between, because if you leave out SRTs in between, it may be understood by the psychologist that you are unable to handle that particular situation, or possibly the values that are emerging through that SRT are perhaps deficient with you. So therefore, try and attempt all SRTs in a sequence rather than leaving SRTs in between. However, if some SRT you have not been able to understand, that SRT you can leave. It will be understood by the psychologist why you would have left that, because you would not have established a pattern of leaving certain types of SRTs. Now, the second point is that make sure that you understand the SRT properly, because if you've not understood the SRT correctly, perhaps the response that you give will not be completely correct or appropriate. Third point is that it is very, very important that you see yourself in that particular situation, because unless you are able to relate with the situation correctly, the response that you give may not be that appropriate, or it may sometimes look artificial or unnatural. So put yourself there and ask yourself that if I was in this person's position, how would I react to it? So the response that you give should not defy common sense, and it should be given in a logical, practical manner. So don't worry as to how it will be evaluated by the psychologist. Many people unnecessarily try and show bravado or bravery, wherein it looks like being a person looking foolhardy who's attempting something which is not supposed to be done. So be careful when you attempt the SRTs that you remain practical and remain real. Now, the next point that you need to keep in mind is that there are few cardinals that need to be kept in mind while you are attempting the SRT. What are these? First of all, make sure that the response that you give is in past tense, because the SRT is usually given to you in past tense. And the response that you give should be in 2 to 3 different sub-steps that you would have taken to give a reaction to whatever situation was presented to you. I'll explain this with the help of an example a little later. Next thing that you have to keep in mind is that the actions that you are depicting over there should reach a logical conclusion. You should never leave the SRT in between. And one more point that you need to keep in mind is that make sure that the sequence in which you are giving your response is correct. It should not be in a manner in which the sequence goes wrong. So I'll just explain this with the help of one example. Let's say the SRT is that he woke up in the night and found his neighbor's house on fire. Now, to respond to this, you have to give 3 to 4 sub-steps. So first sub-step should be something that is going to come from furthest, and that is naturally the fire brigade. So the first sub-step should be called the fire brigade. Then you say comma. Next sub-step would be raising an alarm or rushing to the spot, comma. Next sub-step would be assisting evacuation of the people who are stuck there, because if you delay that, naturally people are going to die. And the last sub-step would be, with the help of others and the fire brigade, controlled fire. So we have kept all these cardinals in mind. Firstly, we made sure that we responded in a correct sequence. Secondly, we also made sure that the situation reached a logical conclusion. And most importantly, we did not write full sentences, we wrote it in a crisp manner. So I repeat it again. You would write on the paper, called fire brigade, comma, raised an alarm, comma, assisted evacuation, and with the help of others and fire brigade, controlled fire. So this is how you would respond to the SRT on paper. So just keep these basics in your mind while you're attempting the SRT. Make sure that the responses that you give are not such where you are sounding wishful or you're unnecessarily sounding foolhardy. So be careful that the responses that you give should be natural, practical, and doable. I hope I've been able to bring out some important tips for you. Thank you.